Welcome back to 2023. It's the weekly 30-30 trading list where we're finding the best momentum companies on the ASX and identifying those companies that are set to run. We're doing this with Gary Glover from Novus Capital, who's selected his favourite shares for the week. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, Chris. I'm good.
Well, it's been a good break. We've got your Tuesday report that we came back to earlier this week. We've got a couple of things. We had some questions over the break that I'll just touch on in a second, and then also a bit of a down period where we didn't do some videos. So off the bat, we've had a few questions saying, what is this list and how does it come together? The first list we normally cover on the momentum list are the companies that are showing the fastest movements on the ASX for the week over a momentum calculation that we put together. And the second list, the Launchpad, is where the trading opportunities really can come from. The Launchpad seeks to find the next market leaders. So they're currently quite achievers over the quarter and building a base better than the rest of the market. And then often that leads them into the momentum list before they break out. So with that kind of definition in between, we haven't had videos for a few weeks, Gary, but you've still been getting this weekly report of the 30-30 list. Has anything come up over that quiet trading period, low volumes, any opportunities you found?
Yeah, I think I'm going to edit you there, Chris. I think you said weekly for the momentum, where it's actually quarterly, not weekly, isn't it? It's definitely quarterly. The first
you're
list,
right.
yeah,
And then you're absolutely right.
And the short-term list is the weekly list, yeah.
Yeah,
so strongest for the quarter, strongest week. Okay, that's right. No, I just didn't want to get the viewers get confused, but definitely the case here. But no, it's been the last couple of lists who sent me. I know that obviously we haven't recorded the last couple of weeks, but the last couple of weeks have been pretty good. I've traded quite a few off the list, and I can tell you that I had probably a 4-week losing window on my account up until last week. And last week I had a pretty good week, and then this week I'm having a pretty good week. So it's sort of, as your trading should be. The 4 weeks I sort of think I lost to sort of maybe 1.5% the first week, and then everything else was under 1% to like under 0.5%. So it's pretty tight. So even though I had 4 losing weeks in a row, I didn't lose too much. And then within the 1 week, last week, I got on a few good trades there and had pretty much balanced up I pretty much got my balance back to where I was at the peak. So within a week, I've managed to, correct my 4 weeks. Was sort of not going so well. A bit messy, the market. I was trading a bit light. I'm still 50% orientated here just because I think the market hasn't got the green light here yet. That might change here with a CPI number. But yeah, there's been some good trades there. I mean, the WGX, obviously we've talked about gold stocks. They've been on the list here for a while. I really like this WGX there. I did make a mistake with this one. I did see this sort of setup here. It sort of consolidated back. This is like a false break for me, which I love the false breaks. Exhaustive volume. So once it retreated in here and had a little consolidation, I thought this was ready to go here. So got myself pretty set there. Probably maybe slightly too aggressive, and I wanted to sort of keep it nice and tight here. So I kept it tight around that sort of low there. So I just didn't want to, because I got myself a pretty geared, decent posse, maybe too heavy. I didn't leave myself much stop there, and I got stopped out pretty much on this day here, and then we've reversed. But the good thing is I'm not. Don't let my ego get in the way. As soon as I saw this reverse here and look pretty decent, as soon as I saw this, I thought, wow, this is going to go here. So still hasn't, it's just basically a first highlight. It's just come back a bit deeper. I had a feeling actually once it hit this day and I got stopped out, I thought, oh, that's probably going to reverse and go up here, which it did. So got a starting position there, added to my posse again, and then bang, it sort of, it's come here. And then we had a consolidation. And this was really nice here because we had good volume there. And then, although we had a bit of volume there, just see the volume just dried up in here. So I love the 3-4 days here consolidation. And this day here was up and out again. So I got a chance to sort of trade this. This was sort of on the list there. I think it was might have been number 4 and number 5 there a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it's had a nice pop there. There was another little one, ARX, which was on the list. Again, this was, look how strong this was here. I do like the fact that, look at that little under 104 here. It just consolidated here. So they had pretty good volume, Chris, all the way through here. And then the volume just dried up here. So it went slightly, look at that. Once I see this sort of consolidation here, this is like your little, tightening up your little VCP pattern here, like a little, it's just sort of like an ascending triangle there. I think, once I saw this, I think I started to add in here and a position. Wasn't super liquid. And I sort of measured this move out as, I think might have been 104 to 101 there or something. So not looking for a massive move there. So I've already sort of traded out of that. Just didn't want to be too, just because it's a bit of liquid, that one. In a bull market, I probably would have held on, but in this market here, where I think it's pretty choppy, I think you just sort of take your measured moves and move on. So I haven't been overstaying positions. I think Silver Lake was on our list as well, sort of one of the gold stocks that was lagging a little bit. Most of the other ones have been leading, but I just like the fact that it did come back in a little three wave here. Just all of a sudden the volume started to get heavy here. I thought, well, this is just done like a little ABC. Another high low here, and away it's gone here. So and I traded this. A few clients have actually still been trading this as well. So yes, there's been a few trades there. Been a few. So so it's been a good couple of weeks.
So even though it's the quietest period of the year, it's still been good trading in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been heaps of false breaks as well everywhere. So, me, I love my false breaks. I've seen plenty of good quality sort of stocks set up false breaks. I haven't seen too many, tight VCP pattern there. The one that I missed actually, which was on your list, was this is the only one that sort of, I might have been around 50% fully, in terms of my rules there in a messy market, only be 50% invested. I missed this one here. This was on your list there. It might have been last week before, but just see how tight that was there. Sort of pulled back, tightened up in here. So it's done our one pullback, two pullback, a little, I can call that, that was a wide range week there, but no selling there at all. And then tightened up the next day. It's like, well, that's ready. That's like it's called, ready to go. So I did see this one here. I thought, even if you just look at, I would sort of think too, once these patterns are extended here, when they pop, they usually go for those 3 days at least. So I reckon there's always a 3-day trade in here, which is what happens here with this move. So even if you're late in the move, just count 1, 2, 3, and then you're out. So, but yeah, that was the only one that I did miss there. But look, I was pretty close to my 50%. So I would have been trying to get rid of stuff to try and fit it in, but that was the only one that sort of bummed me a little bit for missing, which was on your list there. But looking at this week's list there, number 2, you've got MAY, which has had a nice little move here. It's a bit of a small stock, so maybe too small for me, but gee, the volume's pretty interesting there. Sort of, that was a nice little, some good volume in that first leg. Look at the volume drop here. Nice little VCP again here, Chris. And then once we started to kick up out here, away we go. I mean, most people sort of, can't watch things there. I like to sort of see it break that B wave. I might sort of, might start with a small position in there and then build once it's sort of gone through. But you can always set conditional orders too. If the price breaks above 6.8, please buy me, 50,000, 100,000 shares up to, maybe a limit of 6.9 or 7. Just give yourself a bit of it. You don't want to leave an open order on those condition orders, but just leave a condition sort of slightly wide enough, but limit them so that they don't pay anything. But yeah, usually like 0.1 or something, or 0.2, depending on the size of the stock here. So, but that was really that's still pretty interesting. That's a decent move here. I'll put this on my list here just to sort of keep an eye on this, because that's been pretty healthy volume all the way through there. So maybe this can consolidate again and go again. We covered WGX. That was on the list there. Look, that one there, I could have traded that better there, Chris. I tried to gear up too hard, but I didn't let my ego get in the way. I came back in, and even though I didn't make as much money as I should have done, I
You still
some
made money out of it.
Yeah, I think I made sort of 3 times my loss on the first one, whereas I probably would have made 7 times my risk on the first one, which would have been a nice trade, So, but that's right. That these things, the object sometimes is the fact that I identified the trade. It was a good scenario there. I just maybe went a bit harder. So the only rule that I sort of learned from that was that because I sort of added into that, maybe if I'd tightened up, say, half my position, left maybe the other half position with a little bit more room, that would be a good way to go. So it's a nice little rule to sort of enter in there if you're sort of trying to be, I like to keep my wrist nice and tight, so I don't mind losing as long as I don't lose much. But sometimes when you're trying to nail that big gain, maybe just tier your orders a little bit as well. But another gold stock there is BGL. Again, like a lot of these stocks here, they've had a pretty good run here. I wouldn't be chasing this here now. I think with these golds here, what we're waiting for is they have a bit of a run, then you want to see them consolidate here. So you want to go through a little bit of a pause and then start to sort of break through here. So once we sort of start to break above here, we saw this a little bit of a high in here. Once we got above that, that was a good sign that we're actually showing a bit of strength in there. And then away they go. So with all these sort of stronger stocks on the board here, don't chase them. Wait for your consolidations and then come in there. SLX is pretty bullish here as well. It's had a pretty nice move here. Under a new high here today, Chris, which is yeah. So I was thinking maybe it might stall under the high, consolidate, maybe a little cup and handle or something, but it has gone through here. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, that's one of the strongest stocks on the board at the moment. So pretty bullish. I think Polynovo. Again, we're talking about this sector here. So Polynovo, pretty bullish here. Just well, actually, I thought this might have consolidated a bit more. That's all it's done is a little three-way pullback in there. Nothing too heavy on the volume there. The tough one there. So we started to see it rally here. No volume came in there, but once we break that little B wave or the lower high there, that's the one that's the thing I always look for. Once they break out here, that was the day the volume came in and it just didn't look back. So we're trying to sort of identify the strongest stocks on the board, trying to wait for consolidations, and then once they break a B wave there, that's the sort of third thing as well. So sometimes I might get a little cheat on if I think it looks pretty good, but then that's the killer for me is to break that B wave
with volume.
Yeah, ideally with volume there, but just breaking above that high is a good sign here. So but I like to see things come back in three ways as well. I'm probably an Elliotician at heart. I love some of the Elliott wave sort of rules there, but just seeing that classic three-way pullback and then away we go. That's the sort of they're the highest probability sort of moves there. What else we got in there? AIS is the sort of one that I think this was number 9 on the list there. There's a nice little VCP in here. So basically we've got first pullback, rally there, second pullback, rally, and then the third pullback. So each pullback getting smaller and smaller. Look how this whole thing just tightened up here underneath there. So just tightened up here and then
volume starts to come in too.
Starts to come in as well. So again, you could probably wait for that move there. You might have been seeing this day, think, oh, this looks like it's actually broken out on your half hourly. That's probably showing a little bit of a break of the channel. And then where we go here. So, so if you want to cheat and stuff, it's okay there, but just sort of start small. Yes, that's my motto. It's just sort of like, if I think this is looking ready and starting to break, show signs there, I might just sort of getting starting position on, and then I'm looking to buy on that break there. So 57 here. I mean, I think it opened at 57.5 there, so I should have been buying on the open. So it would have been a chance to add to it there. So a few other stocks in there. STX. Again, this is pretty strong here. It's just, some good volumes in there. So good volume there, a bit of a pullback, a lot of volume, good volume again. Pulling back, a bit more selling this time, but again, keep an eye on this. Maybe it consolidates back a bit more. Not sure I'll be playing them now, but still keep an eye on it. DVP's been really strong here. I mean, you know, here's our sort of classic sort of cup and handle here, you know. And then, you know, consolidation going, it just keeps building here. So that's, you know, that 50-day moving average has been nice, you know, just been kept sort of bouncing off that. So, yeah, so this is good signs here. I think, look at that, you know, that volume there the day before it sort of went through as well. That's, yeah, showing some strength there. So again, we're looking for the stocks showing, you know, showing strength, looking for consolidations, and then starting to push through here. So, you know, might be sort of seeing this break up here, you know, that day there's the first day you've seen a bit of volume there, probably broken this little downtrend there. I think, just trying to think there, I think it might be Oliver Kell. He sort of refers to them as sort of flags all the time, but he's looking for them to break. Yeah, he's just looking for the strongest stocks to break these flags here. So once he sort of sees them, pokes his head out there, he's sort of often onto them. So I think Oliver Kell, I think he might have come up with something like a 900% return a couple of years ago on the US investment. So all he did was just trade these high tight flags, and he just looked for the tightest stocks. I mean, his high tight flag, it varies quite a lot, Chris, from our sort of tight rulings. Anything that was sort of the strongest stocks on the board there, as soon as they had like consolidation, as soon as they started to break the channel, he would be onto those. So yeah, so interesting that yeah, he absolutely smashed it that year. It's probably one of the best results I've seen over there for that. RSG, just another gold stock here. So the RSG, people are talking about this actually around 20 cents as being, you know, pretty strong fundamentally. So it's been some good volume down here. So this has been climbing. It's probably a little bit too small here, but just interesting that a few good judges that I know are sort of talking about the quality of this one and it being underperformed. And yeah, it's sort of up 25% since then. So yeah, I know the sector's moving there, but doesn't look too bad. SMP. This is one stock that I probably wouldn't have traded because I would have let my bias get in front of me. This is, I think, might have been Smartpay or something like that. So I would have been not keen to sort of trade these sort of
on that group.
Yeah. But look at that. That's had a pretty impulsive move, pretty strong. This is why we don't want to let our bias get in front. And then look at that.
No consolidation, no volume.
Pull back on no volume. So yeah. So again, you know, look, if I was brave enough to trade this, for me, it would have been like a little bit of a, you know, a 1, 2, 3, and I'm out. I don't really like to, when they've had a pretty strong run like this is like a fourth wave for me, Elliott wave. And then when they break, they go hard, but oftentimes they're sort of, some of the lesser ones can just go 3 days and then stall. Others, like, you know, I think NEU has done a few of these, but it's just kept going. Like just sort of had these stalls here and then just popped, you know, 1, 2, 3 and kept going. I think, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. I had a bit of a pullback, but they largely kept going. So
$3.50 to $9. Yeah, it's kept going.
Yeah. So this one here has probably done that. It's probably done that. Actually, interesting because it sort of does the sort of 3 or 4 day move, then consolidate, and then if it breaks out of here, has the sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 day move, and then consolidate, and even out of here, 1, 2, 3, consolidate. So even that rule is a good rule anyway, even if you're sort of just in terms of heat. So, you know, probably Minervini and those guys who are, you know, I think Jim Ropel, who probably likes to stay with a position, he might just trim some of it. So if he's building position here, every time it has that 3 day pop, he might just take a quarter off. And then if it pulls back 3 or 4 days, he puts it back on again, you know. Could
it be a bit like a function of the markets? Because in the momentum reports we're getting at the moment, we're lucky to get something over 40, maybe touching 50. The majority of the scores we're getting are under 20. But a year or two ago, we were getting the list, everything was over 90. And so is it sort of a function of how strong the market is as well?
Yeah, it does do. I mean, it's sort of, I guess all the traders trade different ways and stuff there. I sort of, I was reading, I was reading yesterday. I was just kind of made me sort of think about the market there, and I wrote a couple of things down actually, which I think you got to trade. You know, trade your playbook, but more importantly, trade the conditions. And so this is sort of something that I probably learnt from, following Minervini over the years, is that sort of, so he just trades VCP, so he only trades that one setup. But if it's a roaring bull market, then he'll probably bigger size, and he'll probably stay positions longer, and maybe he'll give himself more room in a more bullish market. But if the market's tricky and messy, he normally brings his risk down, position size down, and his target will be down as well. So it's sort of like he's just not trying to make as much. He's sort of trying to be in and out, a bit more nimble.
Swinging for hitting singles as opposed to swinging for sixes.
Yeah. So it'd be different there. I mean, I know Jim Ropel, who's pretty well known trader in the States. So he's more of a sort of, likes to sort of hold positions. I think that's his strength, is sort of building position and staying with it. But I'm not sure he's probably didn't have the best year past here, but if you start to building positions now that keep running, then could do very, very well. So I don't know. Me personally, I just like to sort of, I try and shift with the market. I just sort of try and not, just try and not get in the way. So but I think the market looks pretty. I thought it was pretty messy here. I was still a bit worried about inflation there, but inflation looks like it's sort of going to cool here, which is good signs there. So that means some of the growth stocks might actually start to get going here. I think it'll still be a bit messy, but definitely sort of feel like it's the environment is getting a bit more favourable there, Chris. So so I think I'll probably, my 50% rule, I might be pushing that. I might, if we can wait for some sort of consolidations and then set up here, I'll probably sort of start to come out of that now. I think getting a bit more green light environment sort of coming back here. On the weekly list, TRJ was number one. That was small for me. Triple L was on the list, which is sort of interesting. Sort of in that another sort of lithium sort of minerals there. So this has had a decent move here. Big sort of three-wave pullback, which is interesting. The volume is okay there, but sometimes this is sort of when you can get bigger moves after you've had these sort of big, deep three-wave pullbacks. So probably just on the watch list for me. Mineral Resources, I was sort of watching there. I brought this up here just not because I sort of like it there, just because I sort of showed that this is a pretty strong trend. So it's a very well-loved sort of stock here. It's probably quite a crowded position in the market, but this was a strong trend here, which just tipped over recently, broke the 50-day moving average, which I never really like. And now it's come back here. So you might say it's more positive now because they're back above the 50-day, but sometimes when they break the 50 on a nice trend, that's just a bit of a warning sign for me. They can sort of like, can break and then go back and then go below that. So that Mineral Resources there, if I was long some of those, I'd just be watching that a bit carefully there. Just a couple of warning signs there. 5EA, again, this is one that's had a nice move here, but no volume there at all, Chris. So can't get too excited by that. OBL, this one actually has had a nice three-wave pullback and had some good volume. So I've sort of circled this one here because I thought, okay, that's a nice move here after a false break, a big three-wave pullback, and now we've sort of had some pretty good volume there. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Paladin as well, not bad volume after a big deep three-wave pullback. I thought this looked quite good. The other one actually was, I think it was on your list a couple of weeks ago. I did sort of see it was the deep yellow, which is on the list as well. There's somewhere, I think, as well. That sort of hasn't moved as well as Paladin. Paladin's probably the leader there. This one was sort of starting to move. I just sort of noticed that this has had a pretty deep pullback. Just sort of started to dry up here, and then we've started to see a bit of volume come in here. So definitely there's uranium stocks there. Definitely interesting interest. Yeah, just had a nice impulsive move here. So this is sort of one to me put on the list here, just because I have good volume, deep pullback, and I'm not. I mean, like this the thing about history. History sort of said that inflation just won't disappear. You really have to get on top of it. Can come back, and oftentimes it has come back quite a bit. So you just have to keep an eye on some of those stocks. So even though oil prices come back and the all stocks are, had some selling here. They could come back again, could have their time later on. So as uranium as well, obviously everyone's still worried about energy. So I think that uranium and energy sort of story will still it'll flash back and forth here, I think. So it will come back again. CXL was one that I quite liked here. Just looked like it technically had sort of put in a high low. Pull back on light volume, which I liked after this. This is a nice volume drive here, bit exhaustive here, and then, but the volume hasn't really got going here. So looks positive. I think something like a bigger continue to climb higher, even though the volume never really got going. So it can still go high there. It's just not showing super strong volume. PAN, not bad volume there for a small one. Probably too small for me, but does not too bad. AVR actually is one that has caught my eye. This is actually one that, if you remember back a while ago, Chris, I mentioned that I did buy stock on the list, but I didn't tell you which one it was.
We had a guessing competition.
Didn't want to sort of be a bias there, but look, it had did get going, and then I did sort of tighten up and get stopped out here. But I have added to this just recently here. Just it's a big VCP here on the we pull back here, another pullback, and tightened up here. So the whole thing is sort of triangulating here. And I thought, gee, if it breaks above this high here, which is I think 24.99, that's our on a daily chart, that's our little B wave break here. So I do like this. It's a leading sector here, obviously biotech. So I mean that CUV, as I was saying, that's like one of the strongest stocks on the board as well. That's sort of the stock that I'm quite interested in, showing real strength in the Polynovo. So much strength as well, even PME. So AVR is in the right sector here. Just starting to break out here. I like the fact that it broke this little swing high, so that sort of gets me sort of started. Breaking above this position here as well is a good sign as well here. So I like what I'm seeing now. Just the weekly is a pretty good setup as well. I mean, I prefer it to sort of sit on top of these moves like that. That would have been more bullish, but still sort of decent consolidation here and a breakout here. So it's not the most liquid stock here. So just go easy there. I've gone a bit easy there. I haven't gone too aggressive there just because it's not too liquid. But I do like a look at that. I think the sector looks pretty interesting there. Vulcan VUL is again that energy sort of stock as well. It's had a pretty deep pullback. Had an okay move here, but yeah, just got to see if this consolidates here. So definitely one I'm keeping an eye on. LOT was sort of one that has come back, retested the low, maybe a little bit small for me, but was a false break there, and the volume is okay. MCR, which was number 22 on the list. This is pretty interesting to me, just because it sort of had a pretty decent pullback here. If we drew a trend line across our highs here, we'll see that this is broken out, Chris, off that,
Yeah, right.
So if I don't know if I get an arrow here or something, probably a bit raw, but we essentially have broken sort of out of that, kind of breaking out of that pattern there, which is sort of breaking that sort of downtrend. We do have a bit of a high low in here. Just started to break up in here, and the volume's been pretty solid as well. So this was a nice exhaustive low, and then we got our first high low in here. Obviously, we need to break above this level 172 to sort of
really get into it.
Yeah. But some early signs, actually not too bad there. So that's definitely. I definitely circled that one. That was it there. The only other one on the list, which wasn't on the list, this is one of the first. I mean, I talked about a few false breaks there. So I think things like I think Domain made a false break. I think Aristocrat made a false break. Sonic Healthcare made a false break. There was just false breaks everywhere, I think. So this is another one. SIQ made a false break. He exhausted that low, then had a bit of a pop, come back down again. But then look at this volume here. It's had a good volume run here, and then pulled back here. So this is our you think about this, this is our first pullback, our second pullback, and there's our little, So again, this is a classic little VCP in here. We, look at our trend line there as well. So once we get a little trend line break in here, just good volume characteristics as well, Chris. So that's the classic VCP pattern, is to
super tight volatility and volume.
Yeah. So look at that volume through here on the way up there, that was really aggressive, and then the volume dried up through here, had a bit of a volume on the pump, and then just all that consolidation, no volume there, tightened up, and then now we're starting to go here. So this looks pretty good just because volume profile is good. Also, nice VCP, which we just haven't seen hardly any good VCPs in the last few months there. The only thing I've been trading is the false breaks, and I love the false break, because then if you buy them down near the low, you get a tight stop. And if they keep going, get some nice rewards here. I think, things like Sonic Healthcare has come back and gone to a slight near low. One that I like was actually Domain, because everyone hated real estate because they thought, interest rates are going higher and the whole thing was tanking. And then we get this exhaustive volume, and then away it goes. This is when no one loves it. It's usually that's the time it starts to go. So it's had a decent move here. So the beauty of these sort of patterns, even if you're sort of buying them a couple of days later, then your stop's going to be at this level here. So it's pretty tight. So if you're sort of buying them down here and your stop's tight here, you might only have like a 20 cent stop here. If this goes back up to the last high here, then geez, that's a nice risk reward there. Sort of risking huge. 20 to make $1.20, something like that. So yeah, it's all, as traders, that's all we can ask for, is a good risk reward. So and as it keeps climbing, just maybe get yourself to break even and slide yourself up there.
It's a good way to trade it, and it sounds like you've had some good trades already so far in 2023.
I had some good trades here. I was going to share some New Year trading resolutions with you, but we've probably gone on a bit too long already. So maybe we'll save that for next week.
There you go. There's something to look forward to for next week, which is a good point to circle out and say thank you for the breakdown of the last couple of weeks and the trades ahead. Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.
Right, if you want to see the video that we were talking about before with Gary and his Tuesday reports, that link is on the right-hand side with his playlist. And then this playlist that updates each week when we go through the 30-30 list, all the trades that Gary's talking about, they come from a 30-30 list, which you will be able to see on screen or on the post either here on Twitter, which is on the left-hand side. You'll see the Twitter handles. We'll come back again next week.